Good morning and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Bacon and Eggs. We got a pretty special episode for you this week. As some of you may have known, our host Tyler Carlin is on his honeymoon right now. So I brought in a little bit of a ringer, one of the only people in the world who's known Tyler longer than me, and that is his brother Ben Carlin of the Super Carlin Brothers. Ben, how you doing?
I am doing great, and I'm so freaking excited to be on y'all's show. This is going to be so much fun.
We're super excited to have you. We brought you in because we know that you're an expert on this topic. I mean, you're a literal Jedi.
A literal Jedi. Well, we actually did a deal with Lenovo earlier this year, and just today I got like my Jedi challenges, like headset and lightsaber. And the
I know.
whole
I
bit.
saw. I was so excited. I was like, this could not be a better day for him.
Oh my gosh, I know. Yeah. So it's been all Star Wars all day.
For
Jay
sure.
and I, for the Super Carlin Brothers channel, actually recorded our complete review of The Last Jedi today, which would be going up tomorrow, Tuesday, December 19th. So
Perfect. So that video will be linked in our description because this will be up Thursday.
Cool.
So you guys will. Do you know how long it's going to end up being your full review? I'm sure you guys spoke at length.
Oh gosh, yeah. I don't even know what the final cut of it's going to be. I know that we recorded over an hour of footage.
Good gosh.
I think we're going to have to clean it up dramatically, but
oh yeah. There's always some level of stuff that needs to be removed.
Yeah, the moral of the story is there's no shortage of stuff to talk about with this movie.
Exactly. Fair enough, Ben. So tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Super Carlin Brothers to start with, just for those who may not know that are listening.
Yeah, no problem at all. So Super Carlin Brothers is it's a YouTube channel that basically delves into theories associated with anything Disney, Pixar, Star Wars, Harry Potter, and Marvel are like the big ones that we cover. Really what we do is just dig deep into like any plot hole or Easter egg or anything we can really find and kind of put together a theory that sort of gives the story a little something else. It's something that like we never really set out to do when we originally set up the channel. We originally did the Vlog Brothers Brotherhood 2.0 challenge.
I remember videos every 2 days for a year or something like that.
It was 5 days a week.
5 days a week.
We were alternating, so it would be like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, and so every other week you would have like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or the Tuesday, Thursday.
Gotcha.
When I got into YouTube, it was not something that I wanted to do at all. I basically needed a roommate, and Jonathan, my brother, wanted somebody to do the challenge and the channel with him, and I kind of dived in, and it has been the best decision of my life, and it's
and
like
here you're 5-6 years later.
Yeah, so we started in 2012, and so here we are capping off 2017. So
good gracious! And how many subscribers do you guys have now on YouTube?
We are we're coming up on 1.5 million, right in the 1.4 range. Yep.
I feel like it's grown exponentially since you guys hit 1 million.
Oh my gosh, it's unbelievable. Like there are days. We have had a couple of days where we have picked up over 10,000 subscribers in one day.
That's insane.
Yeah, and Jay and I would just be sitting there like staring at our phone like, I can't believe.
How are we doing this?
Yeah, it is so unbelievable. And I can promise you, like, I told my audience at like 100,000 that I would get this massive tattoo of a grizzly eagle shark somewhere on my body.
Like on your leg, right? We were talking about this a couple months ago.
Yeah, if we hit 1 million subscribers. That was like one of those things that I tossed out there as like a total, that will never happen. I'm not making a promise. I'm just speaking in jest.
Right, and here you are, you're going to be knocking on the door of 2 million before probably June, I would imagine.
Oh my gosh, if that was the case, we would be just unbelievably excited. So we'll see. I don't have the tattoo yet, but I haven't completely ruled it out, but...
Okay, fair enough.
It's a cool tattoo.
Yeah, you told me it was a pretty in-depth drawing, and you were kind of terrified.
I would not want to know how much that would cost. It is the most detailed grizzly eagle shark you've ever seen.
For those of you who don't know, grizzly eagle shark is exactly what it sounds like. It's a hybrid chimera animal that is a combination of a grizzly bear, an eagle, and I believe a great white shark.
Yes, that is exactly correct.
Where did that come from?
Honestly, I think it was maybe like my 8th video ever.
I was going to say, it's been around a long time.
Yeah, if even that. And I think the first time I ever referred to it, it was an eagle grizzly shark, I'm pretty sure, on the 4th of July. And it was one of these things that we kind of fired up. And we don't even refer to it on the channel all that often, but it
lives in folklore.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's how you know the true fans, because they're
right, who's gone back and listened or watched, 5 years worth of videos.
Right.
Fair enough. So you guys do this full time though. This is your
full-time gig. So basically, Jay and I both quit our day jobs. I was working an aquarium company before I was doing this. I still own that company, but I don't work with it hands-on anymore. I'm just a purely management role. And Jay's full-time gig, and we actually have like a full-time, with health benefits video editor that works with us as well.
Right. Fair enough. So I asked you that question to ask you this question. What a lot of people, especially in the kind of industries that we work in, want to know is what do you call yourself to people outside of the industry? Like when somebody asks you what you do for a living and you have to give them, I'm a blank.
Oh gosh. Most of the time I do tell people now that I'm a professional YouTuber.
Okay.
I don't think that it was until we got our first brand deal that I thought of myself as anything. To use the word professional is like such a big statement.
Right.
It suggests a certain amount of skill that I don't know if I can claim that I have. But I do think the fact that we are on the internet and that there are companies out there that will reach out and pay us a decent sum of money to refer to their product or brand. I feel like that was the marker for me when I was like, okay, I can probably make mention of professional.
I can say that this is my job now.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
So,
and that's the goal for a lot of people. So I've got a couple. I wrote out to some of our listeners, and I got a couple questions here for you. People that want to know a few things about you. So they're kind of scattered, kind of random, and we're just going to kind of go with it. My first one I got there was my favorite. Ben, you just became an uncle, so that makes you Uncle Ben.
Funkle Ben, yes.
And the question is, do you fear for your life?
Oh man, I feel like people figured this out. And actually, the day that he was born, I sent Jay and Beth like a big edible arrangements. And on the card, it just literally said, "Congratulations. With great power comes great responsibility, Uncle Ben."
So you just bought into it?
I bought straight into it.
Good. Okay. So are you afraid that that you're going to meet your untimely fate?
Well, if it means that my nephew becomes a superhero, then I feel like it's for the greater good. So I don't know if I fear it. I would just be excited to know, like, if it was coming, that would be the only assumption in my mind. Like, if I'm in New York City and somebody comes and attacks me, I'm like, this could only mean...
my uncle's gonna be Spider-Man now.
Right. It could only mean one. That would be my dying thought. So
perfect.
Silver lining.
Perfect. There you go. Okay. Next quick question for you. What is your favorite video you've made in the last 5 years?
Oh my gosh. So it was actually not a video that I hosted, but it's a video that when we were working on it, it was like the most all hands on deck project that we've ever had. We had an intern at the time, Jay, myself, and our video editor, DK. And we had heard this story that we call Toy Story Zero. And basically it was kind of like the untold backstory of Andy from Toy Story's dad. And It goes through, basically everything, how Woody came to be in Andy's possession. It's the most like heartfelt, so incredibly like heart-wrenching Pixar story that there is. It was a video that we made and everybody was just laser focused on everything. We were like combing through it over and over again. It's as excited as I think I've ever been to just be like in the room, being a part of it. It was like, we had this groundbreaking story that was going to be so fun. If those of you who are familiar with it probably know that Andrew Stanton, one of the top guys over at Pixar, kind of shot the whole thing down. But it's the story to me, and the guy who told it to us was so genuine that I'm not willing to give up on it. So
where did that story come from?
So the story came from a guy named Mike Mozart, and he was like a super early YouTuber. I think at one point in time, he was like the number 5 most subscribed to person on YouTube, like, back in the earliest days of the channel. And
yeah, before anybody hit 1 million subscribers.
Right. He had like 300,000, and that was like remarkable. And he reviewed toys. And that was the big thing, was that during that time, everybody kind of knew him as this toy expert. And he would go on like every Christmas to talk about like all of the rarest toys and why they're rare. And he has like a 6,000 square foot warehouse full of like every single collectible you could ever imagine. And he was an artist. And basically he would do like all of the artwork for Disney, for like coloring books, for action figures, like those little $12 pools that you see outside of Walmart. Like if you've ever wondered who put Ariel from The Little Mermaid on it, it was this guy.
Gotcha.
And basically at the time that they were developing Toy Story, they kept using him as kind of a consultant. And so he became friends with Joe Ranft, who was one of the key writers over there. And once upon a time, they went to lunch and basically, hashed it all out. He explained the whole backstory because Mike thought it was just like a plot hole. He's like, Toy Story is good, but it has its problems. And Joe Ranft was like, no, there are no problems. At least that's the way that Mike tells it. So,
right.
I won't spend the whole podcast recapping that story, but it is a very cool one, and I suggest you check it out.
I will have to do that. That's not one of your videos that I've seen, and I've seen a lot of them. But
yeah, it's a fun one. If you don't tear up a little bit, I would be surprised. I think all of us, like, every time we heard it, we were just like slowly welling up.
Got a couple more for you here real quick. How did you get introduced to Star Wars, and has it been a big part of your life?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I remember when I was a kid, I must have been 5 or 6 years old, and I was at Sam's Club, like one of those major super centers.
Yeah, you have to have a special card to get in.
Yeah, you gotta have the special card, like the gray laminated card. And so I was with my mom, and she picked up this box set of like the VHS with the original trilogy in it. And I remember her showing it to me and being like, these movies will change your life. And I was like, whatever, Mom, like, I guess I didn't think twice of it. And I don't even know after that event how soon it was that we watched it, but it was soon thereafter. And every Sunday night, our family would like watch a movie together as right. like a unit. And so for 3 weeks in a row, we would have watched A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. And we just got like outstandingly hooked on the whole thing. We collected every action figure known to man. I had like an AT-AT, the Millennium Falcon, just every toy. So when the prequels came out, this is how I can tell you that I'm a Star Wars fan, is that when the prequels came out, I loved them.
Oh, yeah.
Well, because I was maybe 10 or 11 years old when they came out. So I saw them, in theaters, and I couldn't wait for them to come out. And it was something where it didn't even occur to me to question whether or not a Star Wars movie was good. Like, that was so how like romanticized I had made it, was like, these will be good no matter what.
And it wasn't just you. I mean, nobody decided they were bad until 4 or 5 years down the line.
Right. Yeah, like I don't remember all the fallout, but then again, the internet just wasn't.
It wasn't a thing. It wasn't around.
Right.
I mean, it was around, but social media wasn't a thing, and there was nowhere to go to talk about that.
Well, and it's so often the case, I feel like, where people will see what the common opinion of something is, and then they know what the popular opinion, like they react to it as if it would be the wrong thing to do to suggest that they like something that they know the public dislikes.
Right. Or vice versa. It's if the public likes it too much.
Right.
So you like the prequels when they came out, though?
When I was a kid, yes, I liked the prequels. And I actually just went back, before this movie came out, I rewatched every Star Wars movie in the week leading up to it. And well, the prequels are, they were mismanaged, and they tried to do what they thought was popular.
Right.
Like, one of the things that I always say about the prequels is that they felt like lightsabers were so cool that if you had them everywhere, the movie would be cool.
Oh, the choreography was incredible. One of the hands down things that I can say they did better than the originals was that the fight scenes were so cool.
Right, like Darth Maul was like,
a
stunt double or something. And so, he was able to very acrobatically move. And you're exactly right. Like, if you go back and watch the original few, the lightsaber battles, especially Darth Vader and Obi-Wan, is like...
Well, they only last for a few seconds.
Yes. It's outstandingly underwhelming.
Yeah.
They basically are just like waving umbrellas at each other in the street.
Oh yeah.
It's not exactly the most thrilling thing in the world. But then again, relative situations, Star Wars was a completely, at that time it was...
Gotta think, in 1977.
Right.
I mean, people thought it was real.
Right. Yeah, it's like, the idea of laser swords and lightsabers, I mean, that was just, that in and of itself was just so groundbreaking. That it was,
I mean, I had no reason to believe they weren't real. Even when I saw the prequels, I was just like, yeah, okay, they have these. They're fighting with them, obviously. What else?
Obviously.
They can stop laser beams at about 3 feet long. That's totally how that works.
Right. Dude, I can tell you that growing up, there was nothing that I wanted more than a lightsaber. I remember this one time where Jay and I went in the backyard and took our dad's shovels and just started digging a hole. And we were convinced that we were going to find just a trunk full of all things Star Wars. So I remember going to bed one night and Jay and I were just like talking until we fell asleep, and we were like claiming, when we found all of the lightsaber artifacts in our backyard, which one each of us got. And I would be like, oh, I get the green lightsaber. And Jay'd be like, I got Darth Vader's red one.
There were no options that it wasn't there.
Oh no, it was gonna be there. Like we knew it was there. We just had to dig deep enough.
What is something that you dislike but you wish you loved?
Oh my gosh. I have the exact answer to this. It is The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, I'm so with that.
Oh my gosh. It's like Alice's, that's my girlfriend's favorite movie. I hate it so much. Like, it creeps me out. It I mean, as a kid, this is completely genuine. This is something where as a kid, it wasn't like I just assumed everything was good. Right. I watched that movie and it legitimately gave me nightmares. Like, nobody was telling me whether or not to like it. I remember I was at a sleepover at one of my friends' houses. It was near Christmas and they were like, oh, let's watch this movie. I love it. And I think I had to go home in the middle of the night. I was so terrified. Like, it creeps me out. Like, does it not bother anybody else that you have an entire town that is like lucratively following this one hyper like charismatic character that is doing something that's inflicting terror? Like,
it's horrifying.
Do you see where I'm kind of going with that?
Absolutely.
Like, yeah, it's just...
It's like if everybody in Sleepy Hollow decided to worship Ichabod Crane for riding around on a horse with no head.
Right. Yeah, so just a bizarre movie. But yeah, that's one where I have watched it now. I have watched it with her now, I think 4 times in the past maybe like 14 months. And I can tell you that one thing I do like about it, the music is pretty spectacular.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But
the problem with it is it never goes away.
Right.
Because it's a Halloween movie, it's a Christmas movie, it's in Kingdom Hearts.
Right.
It never goes away. You can't, it's in Blink-182 songs. You can't shake it.
Yeah. Nope. Absolutely. So, and so many people even, they're just like, I just call it so many people, I put a poll out on Twitter once upon a time. So many people were like, it's a Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas movie because it's like, you're either splitting the difference or
you're watching it one or the other.
One or the other, exactly.
Yeah. And I think it's a Halloween movie.
I think it's a Halloween movie.
Because there aren't as many, like, Christmas is already flooded with movies. Obviously, like, there are so many bad Christmas movies. Just go on Netflix, I dare you, just search Christmas. You'll find 3 classics and some of the worst movies you've ever seen in your life.
Well, I've been spending the past couple weeks of my life basically trolling through all of those. So, right. And yeah, so that was my deal with her, is that we had to watch the Saw movies if we watched Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, like all of them?
Well, so I think we got to Saw 4.
Okay.
Before we finally were like, okay, we've had enough.
I was gonna say, if you had to, like, there's 8 or 9 of them now?
There's so many. So many.
That doesn't seem like a fair trade-off. I mean, I would absolutely make that deal were I you, but were I her, I don't think so.
Well, we both had lists, so like I had never seen Hocus Pocus until this year. So basically, I lumped all of mine into the Saw movies, which, full disclosure, are not movies that like I love or anything like that. I was just trying to find.
There's just movies that you want to get back at somebody,
right?
You're gonna make me watch this. I'm gonna make you watch something you're gonna truly not enjoy.
Exactly.
And sometimes there's just stuff people have to watch.
Just torture with torture.
Okay, well, we're going to dive into this whole Star Wars The Last Jedi thing. So if you're listening right now and you have not seen the movie, go watch the movie. Stop listening to a podcast.
Yeah, seriously.
Drive to your local movie theater. Get Movie Pass. It's $9.99 a month, and it's the most amazing thing ever. And you can just watch as many movies as you want to, one every day. And go watch Star Wars.
Go watch Star Wars, because we are going to spoil just everything.
I'm not holding back at all after this point, so there'll be some kind of beeping noise, and after that, you're good. So, real quick about this movie came out on December 15th, which, as we're recording, was like 3 whole days ago.
Yes.
And it was made on a budget of $200 million, and it has already almost tripled that.
That sounds exactly right.
Yeah, it's sitting somewhere above 500 million right now.
Jeez. Yeah, I had not even checked to see what its box office was. Until Jay and I made our review, I needed to steer clear of most popular opinions about it. So
right.
It was impossible not to know that it was frantic, but
for sure.
Yeah, so I hadn't seen that number yet. That's insane.
So as of close last night, it was 450.8, which made it the third highest weekend of any movie ever.
Whoa!
It made it second highest opening weekend because the top two are still held by The Force Awakens. The first and second best weekends ever for a movie were weekend 1 and 2 for The Force Awakens.
Which, by the way, I love.
Oh, yeah. Oh, the as much as I love to give credit to the prequels for everything they did, and they had some scripting issues, the acting didn't really hold up, the special effects didn't really hold up, The Force Awakens was 1,000 times better.
Yeah, oh, yes, yeah. I mean, I would go so far as to say The Force Awakens is my favorite Star Wars movie. I know that is not a popular opinion, and that most people would say Empire is the best one.
Now, I would agree with you that I think I would say Empire probably still is the best one, but I think Force Awakens is my favorite. I don't think those two things have to be. Those two things aren't exclusive.
Sure, that is totally fair. Totally fair. I won't argue with you on that.
I also, to some extent, Empire probably gets a better rap than it deserves.
Oh well, that's where you go back to this idea of what is the popular opinion? Do you know how everybody feels about something? Because that probably is where a lot of people know that the correct answer to what is your favorite Star Wars movie is Empire. That's
for sure.
That's how it works.
For sure. So nobody knows how they feel about this one yet. I'm going to list a couple stats for you real quick because it's just something we do at the beginning. So on Rotten Tomatoes right now, it's sitting at a 93% from the critics, 93 out of 100.
Okay.
Which makes it the second best movie second most highly rated movie we've reviewed so far from the critics, behind Iron Man 1.
Wow.
94%, and it has a 56% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, which puts it dead last behind all the other movies we reviewed.
That's insane.
I've never in my life seen a bigger split than that.
You want to know what it is, though? I think that probably if you were to delve into the analytics of it and figure out what people are rating it, I think that there are a huge portion of people that would rate it like a 1, 2, or 3, and a huge portion of people who would rate it a 7, 8, 9.
Right.
And so what I think you're really seeing with that is just on this side of the 7, 8, 9s winning out. But I don't think that most people are giving it 5 stars.
No, I don't think they are. And there's several reasons for that. One point that I'm just gonna knock it out right here. It never ends.
Oh my gosh. It is a long movie.
When Kylo Ren killed Admiral Snoke, Emperor, Vice, Supreme Leader Snoke, I thought the movie was over. I figured maybe 10, 15 more minutes. I looked at my phone. I'm like, wait a minute. I've only been here for an hour and 10 minutes.
Yes.
This is not correct.
You still have the entire Battle of Crate left to happen.
Oh my god. Well, and I figured they were going to get there. They were going to set up shop, roll credits, and it would be the start of the next movie. Nope. We're going to keep going.
See, and that's the thing, though, is that we went through, and so part of what we do with our channel is deeply analyze every trailer that comes out. So I knew that we hadn't yet seen this entire battle scene with the white planet with the red.
Yeah, that was the only way I knew that something was still coming is because I'd forgotten about this till right then, until it happened. I was like, oh, we didn't get the thing with the blood dust.
Right. The blood, speaking of, we can talk about it more in depth, but when the guy tastes the substance and says it's salt, who on earth tastes the soil of a planet?
That's just it's a movie trope, man. It's a movie trope that they just there's something strange, taste it.
Taste it. Man, well...
Why not?
When I literally have it in my notes in the 40 pages I took here on my second pass, I was like, well, that was a weird thing to do. But maybe it's more common than I realized. I would agree that, I'm not going to lick a desert. No, yeah, me either.
There are many situations where you're trying to figure out plant life and whatever, but he's just like, why? Why would you do that? It's so it turns red. Great. There's not a whole huge problem there. It's a strange choice for, a planet to be like that. But other than that, it's, nothing really important. It didn't, there was never let's bring it back to this being salt.
Right. No, I think really what it boiled down to is they just wanted to make a really beautiful scene and get as much red imagery in there as humanly possible.
For sure. And that's the thing why I love this movie, especially, but the last two movies, is because they've harkened back to the fact that it can be this overdramatic, grandiose movie. It doesn't have to take itself too seriously.
Exactly. No, and that's the thing. I think this movie is so interesting, and one of the things that I noticed on the first pass of it that I had such a mixed reaction to was just how comedic it went. Like, it's a very funny movie.
Oh, yeah.
But, and I think on the first pass, I was like, did they overdo that a little bit? Was it too much? And
no, and that's how the originals were, is the thing. It's like, you fail to remember that because you remember Luke, I am your father. You remember the battle sequences. You don't remember the quips going on between Han and Leia.
Oh, yeah. Like, gosh, what is he, like a nerf herder? Is that what she...
Yeah, exactly. They're just ragging on each other the whole time.
Right, yeah. Scruffy looking nerf herder, I think is what it is. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. So it's just really, really bad insults. But if it were not for that comedic backdrop to this movie, it would have been intense.
Oh, it would have been 2.5. It would have been The Dark Knight.
Right. You're exactly right. Yeah, it would have been really like...
Because it still would have been a great movie, but it would have been that intense action movie that felt like two movies. Like, you never got a break.
Right. So, no, I was... that was something that I was a little bit unsure about. Even kind of like starting with that intro of Luke. And tell me what you thought about this, but when we first meet or see Rey and Luke on Ahch-To, she hands him the lightsaber, he holds it and throws it over his shoulder.
Throws it over his shoulder. I actually physically laughed out loud in the theater.
Did you really? Oh my gosh.
I did. Well, first of all, let me explain this. I saw this Friday morning at the what is it, an AMC now behind Tanglewood Mall?
Yes, yep.
In Roanoke, the theater that Ty and I referred to many times in our first few episodes. And it was 10:30 in the morning. It's a horrendous theater. I had just come from visiting your girlfriend at the bridal shop.
Oh,
and
that's perfect.
There were 6 people in the
theater.
theater.
Way, because we were seeing it at 10:30 at Valley View, and the place was packed.
Oh yeah, and I was like, I'm not going to Valley View. I know Valley View is more comfortable; it's a better theater. But I'm gonna have to have my phone out and make a couple notes on this. Like, I don't want to be that guy, and so I'm gonna go sit in the back of Tanglewood, and I'm gonna enjoy it from there. And I walked in, and the theater was empty. I was like, is this the right place? I walked back out, I looked at the thing, and I was like, is this the right theater? And the woman's like, yeah, we just haven't sold a lot of tickets this morning. And it was opening day.
Yeah, well, so we saw it on Thursday night at 7, and then again on Friday morning at 10:30 in the morning, and we had a full theater where we were. And I normally take notes, or sometimes I take notes on my phone. This time I was handwriting them so that I wasn't bothering people because I was afraid of that.
But no, so I physically laughed out loud. I mean, it was such a, because the first few minutes of the movie were so intense. And it was just like a nice, quick giggle.
Yeah, no, it absolutely was. I mean, it was a good like toss of the lightheartedness. But the one thing that I'll say about it is we had heard rumor that J.J. Abrams, who directed The Force Awakens, had made a comment that Mark Hamill would win an Academy Award.
Right.
His role.
I heard the same thing.
And, so we see Luke, and what I'll say about that moment, and again, I was watching so much footage trying to, predict as much as we could before we saw the movie. I saw Mark Hamill more than I saw Luke in that moment. Like, if you know Mark Hamill at all, he is like the goofiest dude on the planet. He's always laughing. Right. He's always being sarcastic. So there was that moment that it kind of like, I had this suspension of disbelief problem where I was like, I can kind of see Mark Hamill there, even though I thought it was funny.
And I would say that's my only air quote complaint about this movie, because I have so few.
Right.
Is that I think Luke in some play, I think Mark Hamill almost underacted the part in some places.
Yes, yeah. And so the other location that I saw, it was actually towards the end of the film, where you have all the AT-ATs firing at Luke's like one spot, and he steps out and like kind of like takes this like one brush on his shoulder. That was another one of those moments that like I laughed at, and I thought it was a funny moment.
Yeah, but it was a little bit out of character, especially for that moment.
It totally was. Yeah, like we were at the moment of the movie with implication, like
the actual climax.
Yes. Yeah, and so I think that was one where, it was like I liked it and I'm okay with the humor, but I was a little like, that they could have done that differently. But
well, so part of that I think is born out of the fact that, like you said, Mark Hamill is Mark Hamill at this point.
Yes,
and part of that is due to the fact that he kind of disappeared after the Star Wars movies.
Right. Yeah,
he kind of went off the grid for a while, and he came back much older.
Right. Well,
and nobody really seen it, so now it's hard to... And he doesn't look all that similar, especially with the beard.
Right.
And so it's kind of hard to see him as Luke sometimes, and not just as Mark Hamill, and that's something that's kind of lost. But also, I mean, the biggest complaint people had about The Force Awakens is that it didn't take enough risks. It was too much of a safe movie.
Sure.
And so this one, I don't think was a safe movie at all.
No, but that being said, there are a couple of key points, and I don't want to throw off y'all's format for the show, but there are a couple things.
There is no format here. Go for it.
Beautiful. Okay. There were two things that I thought they could have done that they didn't do. The first one is Leia's death.
And you and I talked about this in person, or maybe I talked with Jonathan about it.
Yeah, so basically, you've got this scene where you see Kylo Ren kind of coming in. He's doing this, man on a mission, just had a fire lit under him by Snoke. He's blowing up an entire X-Wing hangar. BB-8 and Poe barely survive.
Right.
And you have this moment where he knows that he's aiming directly at his mom, and you kind of have him, you watch him pull off of the trigger, and then two of his henchmen kind of go in and, blow up the space or whatever.
Right.
They have Leia basically just sucked out into space, and it's this moment where, in my mind, I was like, whoa,
this is amazing.
Yeah, I was like, they went for it. And it worked on 6 different, in the moment before I realized that she wasn't dead, I was like, I appreciate this so much. This was so well executed. It was a little gritty. It was a little aggressive. But,
it was early.
And it was early. But it would also kind of add to, the complexity that is Kylo Ren's, allegiance. Because you see him, and he's killed his father, and he's in this position to kill his mother, and he doesn't. And then the side he's fighting for proceeds to do it. And the fact that they, take away this ability for Kylo Ren to kind of, finish off the deed, it almost solidifies, any amount of question that he may have had about whether or not he wanted to kill her would be, now in the hands of these henchmen. It's these, the guys
it takes
that are
the choice out of his hands.
Yes. Yeah. So it would have allowed for a very, I think, colorful and diverse story arc for Kylo to sort of be struggling with the way that his mother came to die. And then with that, probably my biggest complaint of the entire movie is what we see next with Leia. And you may have to tell me how you feel about this, because I might this was my biggest complaint of the movie. But when we see her just kind of floating out in space, and then sort of force floating her way back, and I was so upset.
I was absolutely just because and because I know Carrie Fisher's dead. I know Carrie Fisher's dead. She's not coming back. She's not going to force reawaken herself to go make the 9th movie.
Right.
I was thinking this is a great tie, a great way to tie it off. Great way to end the Leia story arc, and it would be the tipping point that he needed that Kylo Ren needed to force him against Snoke. Part of that whole situation, and they just didn't take that opportunity.
No, and what's weird about that, and they do it a little bit with Rey as well, where we're going into this movie. You all but know, or at least I feel like it was a fair prediction to assume that in each of these movies we would lose Han, Luke, and Leia in a movie respectively.
Right.
Because
there needs to be a full changing of the guard.
Yes. And so I think with that, I'm trying to finish the articulation of this thought. I guess it was the fake out. So you've sort of got one of them has to go. And the fact that they would sort of lead you to it and then be like, ha, gotcha.
And I get why they did it, is because we weren't expecting it to be Luke that died.
Right. Yeah, because
I understand it, and that payoff helped it a little bit, but it just seems unfair. Because I correct me if I'm wrong, but they haven't filmed any of Episode 9 yet, have they?
As far as I know, they haven't. And if all I can assume is that they have something in mind for either how to use more footage that they have of Leia that they decided not to use in this movie, and kind of find a way to make it work.
Right.
But I'm not.
I mean, I know they have a plan. There's no way they don't have a plan, especially with Abrams coming back in to direct the last one. I believe is the current situation.
Yep, yeah. Abrams. Yeah.
J.J. Abrams has a plan. I'm 100% certain about that.
Yes.
But
well, and the other time in the movie that they do this kind of like fake out thing on you is when Rey is on the island and she sort of goes into like, I think it's kind of like the cave that Luke goes into when he's training with Yoda.
yeah, absolutely. The parallels are there to be taken between Luke being Yoda and her being Luke.
Yes, yeah, for sure. And so we see Rey sort of go into this space, and there's the kind of interesting mirroring effect that's happening with her. But you know that what the dark side of the Force is able to offer her is the answer to this question she's always had, like, who are her parents? And of course, us the viewers are all like, who are her parents?
Can you please tell us?
Yeah, and so there's this moment where, you know, she walks up to, I don't know if it was supposed to be ice or like a mirror or glass or something, but you see like the two figures kind of coming forward, and like my pulse was blasting out of my head.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, we're gonna find out, this is gonna be so cool.
Mirror of Erised situation, you know, where they tells her who her parents are. She's deep in the dark side now, like, and then it just didn't happen.
Right, and then it was like, nope, it's just a reflection of you looking back at yourself, and it was like,
and it is kind of brilliant though, because she gets to see.
So you think that she knows?
I think she knows.
Okay.
I think she knows the truth, and I think it's not the truth that Kylo's trying to tell her.
Okay, so that was going to be my next question then.
No, there's no way her parents are nobodies.
Yeah, you don't think so?
No chance. No chance.
I think that is going to be like the biggest question that Jay and I have to take a ton of time to decide exactly how we feel about. Because our big thing coming into this particular movie was, if it's not Luke, does it really matter who her parents are? Like, who else could it be where it would be, like, rewarding to know?
I don't know. I mean, I know she's been listed as Rey Kenobi in some form, but I don't know if I necessarily buy into that. Until it's confirmed, I'm not buying into it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've delved into that theory before, and I feel like all it really rests on, and I'm sure that there will be viewers at home that know a little bit more about that particular theory, because it's not one that I've heavily bought into, but I think what it largely rests on is during Rey's Force vision, when she first touches Luke's lightsaber in Maz's castle, you can hear both Ewan McGregor and Sir Alec Guinness, the two people two actors
play Obi-Wan,
who played Obi-Wan, kind of speaking to her. But on that note, this would be my opinion, is basically that Kenobis have always mentored Skywalkers. Right. So for his voice to come through there is, in my mind, because Kenobis mentor Skywalkers. But
yeah, no, that absolutely makes sense. And I don't know who they are. I don't know what the story is going to be. Maybe it'll be Luke. I truly think it will be.
We were like really feeling like maybe it just isn't, because Luke really doesn't know who Rey is. Like, she's a little bit. I think it's really like one of the things that piques his curiosity ultimately is just like he walks into the tree where all the original Jedi books are, and he's just like, who are you? Like, yeah,
he doesn't have a clue.
If it's his daughter, he doesn't know he has a daughter.
Yeah.
And I guess that would be, you know, as long as there have been parallels to the original trilogy, Vader didn't know he had a daughter either.
Yeah, he had no clue. He knew about Luke.
He knew about Luke, but, you know, he didn't know about that. So there's no way that Luke knows. And to give him a love story or like a female counterpart, it would be such a huge burden in the episode 9 to try to figure out how to explain her.
You're probably not wrong.
Yeah.
I don't believe they would have written it out like that, is the thing. They would have written out her lineage. Just like, oh, they were Junkers.
Sure.
It seems the word I'm looking for here.
Here's the theory I would go back to, and I've had it before, and I feel like most people don't buy into it. I don't know if I'm just crazy or hopeful.
Okay.
But Anakin Skywalker was essentially born of the Force to Shmi. You know,
right?
Like, he doesn't have a father. Basically, the Force created him. And Shmi was a slave. You know, like, she was not anybody of major significance. She didn't have a whole lot of power over her own life. In the event that Rey's parents were Junkers, it could fit that mold.
And that was going to be my next, not suggestion, but the next thing I posited, that it was that similar situation, because clearly she is more powerful than anyone.
Well, and that's the thing, too, is that, like, you know, you don't see it as much. You see a little bit in Rogue One. Darth Vader or Anakin Skywalker is he may be the most powerful character in terms of like force sensitivity that we've ever seen. The only reason why Luke was able to defeat him is because he was able to basically tap into the last fragment of heart that the man had left in him. Yeah. So I think you see a little bit of it where, Luke basically, like Ben Solo, of course, has the Skywalker blood in him from Leia. So Ben has the ability to have that super powerful bloodline to the man who was created by the Force. And when Luke says, I've only seen this kind of power once before, it didn't scare me enough then, it does now. He's referring, of course, to Ben Solo and for Rey to have that power. If they're going to give her some type of backstory, to me, that is one that would make sense.
Right, that she was born of the Force.
Yeah, like
and come again to bring balance to the Force.
Exactly,
because that was what Anakin's destiny, and I guess he pulled that off.
And somebody had pointed that out to me before, and I never really thought of it in such a simple way before. But he does kill off almost all of the Jedi, and he does kill off the Sith, and then Luke
leaves Luke and Obi-Wan.
Right.
Two Sith and two Jedi.
Right.
So yeah, that's definitely a thing that I think you can work with there, is that she is the creation of the Force to resurrect this balance.
Yes. And the other thing is that I guess depending on the exact number of years, and this may be information that's known, and I could be speaking out of nowhere right now, but it would even be possible that upon Anakin Skywalker's death, would be the moment when the Force would then re-manifest itself in a new, in essentially a new person, i.e. Rey.
Well, I definitely think that's possible, because Rey she doesn't have a backstory, she doesn't have an age.
Right. And there's actually a little bit more that Snoke kind of offers in the way of credence to this idea. And he says something in his chamber room to Kylo Ren to the tune of, I knew as your power, Kylo Ren, I knew as it grew, there would be the equal and opposite that arrived. So the thing that Snoke seems to be aware of in terms of the Force that maybe even like Darth Sidious or Emperor Palpatine was less aware of is kind of this concept that the Force wants to balance itself.
Yeah.
Like, it wants there to be equal and opposite. And in our review today, one of the points we brought up is that if the Sith had even figured some version of that out, the Sith live by a rule of two. So there can only ever be the master and the apprentice. They rose up at the peak of the Jedi power, which we find out about, at least specifically referred to from Luke. If you have the all-powerful Jedi Council, where you have X number of Jedi Masters, and there are only two Sith, and the Force requires balance, those two Sith as individuals are 10 times more powerful.
Yeah, stronger than any Jedi.
Exactly. Like, it's not the dark side of the Force is more powerful, it's that it's only manifesting inside of two people at a time.
Right. It chooses two hosts, because there is, only one Force. It is the energy that exists in the between. It ties everything together.
Right.
And it, is the glue that kind of holds the universe together. So it can be in as many people or as few people as it wants to be.
Exactly.
And so that's definitely an interesting one. Now, to branch off for just a second, you mentioned Supreme Leader Snoke. Now, this is something that's gotten a lot of people heated. Is that the biggest thing coming out of The Force Awakens, other than who are Rey's parents, is who in God's green earth is Supreme Leader Snoke?
Yeah, like. The big issue with Snoke is that he is clearly very, very old. And if he is so powerful, it begs the question, where was he during everything else?
Right. Well, but the thing is, if you agree with the two people to the Sith thing, he couldn't have existed.
Well, and that's
where he couldn't have been a Sith.
He couldn't necessarily have been a Sith. There's the strongest theory that would suggest if he was a Sith, would be that he's Darth Plagueis, which would have been Darth Sidious's master. And
you heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise.
Right. And of course the rumor would be that Darth Plagueis created Anakin Skywalker, because he was the only one who had ever been able to actually create life and prevent death.
And to kind of manipulate the Force in a way that nobody else has. And you saw that in this movie a little bit with Snoke, and that he was able to bridge this gap, to literally create a bridge between the minds of Rey and Kylo Ren.
Yes, yeah, the movie, and it's interesting because at multiple different moments they refer to the physical endeavor that is using the Force in such a massive way. Like, you see Luke at the end is clearly using every ounce of concentration.
It ends his life.
Right, essentially. And Kylo, I think, refers to Rey when their minds join. He's like, you couldn't possibly be merging our minds. The pressure alone would...
Yeah, the effort would kill you.
Yeah, and you see Snoke just so simply manipulating everything around him. Like, there's even reason to give Rey a significant amount of credit towards, like, her Force ability. Like, she's clearly very powerful, and Snoke throws her around like a rag doll. Like,
right.
His mastery of the Force is so far beyond that of Kylo Ren.
Anything we've seen.
Yes, yeah. So then the big question, because of course we don't get an answer to his origins, and I have no clue if we ever...
I seriously doubt we will.
Yeah, like, I don't know why they would go back to it at this point.
No.
So the big question, or the only theory that I have left for it would be that prior to the existence of the Sith, about 1,000 years ago, and we do have characters in Yoda and Maz who have both lived at least 1,000 years or thereabouts. But prior to turning to the Sith, those who turned away from the Jedi religion in the early days in the Old Republic became what was referred to as a fallen Jedi. And so
it sees, or you could see that he may exist as this life form that is not a Sith until he has to be.
Exactly. And he may even still not have to be a Sith. It could just be the case that he was somebody with a significant mastery of the Force, and this is going to...
Yoda can come back and do whatever he needs to do, apparently, as he can light a tree on fire.
Yeah, I was a little unsure about that. So the Force Ghosts I like as a concept. So, and of course we've seen Obi-Wan come back in the same way. And technically Qui-Gon Jinn can also come back in this way. But I have a very, very strong feeling we will never see him come back as a character in the film. Right. Well, so I have two thoughts on this. For one, I was not a huge fan of Yoda being able to use the Force as a Force Ghost. I thought that was a little like, I think what they really offer is more of like a bank of knowledge that they can still give to those who are living. Right. But if you can do things as a Force Ghost, are you even dead? Like, why not just have Yoda go into battle?
And that's one argument you can make. But I think the other argument you can make here is that, I mean, Yoda didn't do it. Luke did it through Yoda.
Okay, that's a thought.
So not necessarily like through him, like he manipulated him, but he kind of did it without realizing it necessarily. So he put it on himself.
Sure. Well, because in that moment, there's actually a couple of really interesting details about that moment. You see Luke sort of like come down there with the intent on his own to destroy the tree. And then Yoda interrupts him and basically is like, ha, beat you to it, blah, blah, blah. And then of course Luke is like, hey, the sacred texts were in there. Of course, at this point in time, Luke doesn't know that the sacred texts are not still in it.
Yeah, first of all, on the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah. So I think that's where I would say, I think Yoda knows that they're on the Millennium Falcon.
Oh, absolutely.
And so I think
absolutely knows that.
I think he destroys the tree because he's like, Luke thinks they're destroyed. Right.
So give Luke what he wants, what he needs to feel free.
Exactly.
Like he doesn't have to guard it anymore.
Right.
For whatever he was doing there.
Right. Yeah. So I think that's sort of what went down there. So my opinion or my guess would be that Yoda is the one who is actually like doing the action, manipulating the Force, whatever, to actually to lightning bolt the tree or whatever. But I think the other thing about Force Ghosts and the way that we've seen Yoda and Obi-Wan and now Luke go down is that I think there's a very, very strong possibility that we still see Luke come back as a Force Ghost in Episode 9.
I probably would be willing to put money on it at this point.
Yeah.
I can't see a future for Rey in which she doesn't need that one moment of enlightenment.
Of guidance of some sort. And, she doesn't know Yoda. She doesn't know Obi-Wan. She needs that.
Yeah, a face that she can trust, for lack of a better word.
So on that note, let me hop back, actually, to the idea of Leia's death and and talk just a little bit about Holdo.
I was gonna say, we should mention the other opportunity they had to kill Leia off in a very neat way. They just didn't take it.
Yes. Okay. So, like, this is mind-blowing to me. Like, they have such a wonderful actress who, in my personal opinion, did a fantastic job of portraying like a new face of the rebellion, if you will. Like,
Admiral Holdo, Laura Dern.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh yes, wonderful.
Yeah. So, like, you clearly have someone here who has, like, learned under the mentorship of Princess Leia. You have this moment where, like, Holdo decides to sacrifice herself instead of Leia.
Right, for the Elder to move on. It's like if Obi-Wan had died instead of Qui-Gon.
Right, or if Luke had sacrificed himself instead of Obi-Wan. Like,
yeah, we've seen it so many times. And I guess it's probably what they were going for the way they originally shot it. Is like, oh, we're going to turn it on you because we've done this 6 times now and somebody's caught on. And
Right. Yeah, so that was...
But it just seems like they missed several opportunities to just tie it off neatly.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, what else would have done better than this idea of... Because... Come the end of this movie, there is only enough of the Resistance left to where all of them can fit inside of the Millennium Falcon, right? Like, you're talking about the smallest group of remaining individuals.
Yeah, we sent for our allies and they didn't come.
Right, exactly. So it's not to say that there aren't other people in the galaxy that they could still rally, but, like, if we're being totally honest with ourselves, we're really starting to fight an uphill battle. I just feel like there would have been so much to be said. And again, going back to Obi-Wan, like, he's so much more powerful dead than alive. So is true for Leia. She should have been the one. And even the idea of, like, coming up with the idea of using light speed to slash this ship in half. I mean, it makes me love Holdo.
It was great. Fitting, but it wasn't necessary. It easily could have been Leia. She didn't really have a part in the rest of the movie.
Right.
Particularly.
And I guess maybe they just wanted to have that last little moment where Luke and Leia can be on screen together. That would be, I guess, the best of my ability.
He could have come and visited her before she did the thing. Mm-hmm. Easily. Because since he's just projecting himself from, what is it, Octu?
Octu, yeah.
Octu, yeah. Anyway, he never left the planet.
Right.
I think he can be... Clearly, he can just do whatever he wants there. He could easily come visit her. Could have had that moment still. It was just... I get they would have had to reshoot a lot of things and maybe pull some tricky CGI, but, I mean, if they could bring back Moff Tarkin, they can probably figure it out.
That is very true. And I'm very curious to see, like, maybe they're hinging a little bit on the technology getting better and better going into episode 9. It could very well be the case that we have plenty of Leia left to see.
I can't imagine she lives past the first 30 minutes.
I would be shocked.
I would be shocked. Yeah, absolutely.
So let's dive into a couple of other things really quick. So I know another scene, or like an entire story arc for that matter, in this movie that I felt was a little lucrative was the entire trip to the casino. Like, this scene must be like 25 minutes long. It offers a lot of, like, really cool stuff. Like DJ, portrayed by Benicio del Toro. I loved him. I loved it. Yeah, it was one of my favorite performances of the movie. He kind of had this like the stutter that was like a little bit in and out. His perspective on everything was fascinating. So,
well, he reminded me a lot of that certain side of Han.
Yeah. Like he's kind of like a scoundrel that, like,
only cares about the money.
Right.
Quotes.
Yes.
Only cares about the money.
Only cares about the money, but he also seems to have, like, such a strong I guess maybe it's like his detachment from everything allows him to have a better perspective on the whole. And I don't know if many people caught this or not, but DJ stands for "Don't Join." That's why they never refer to him by name, but they, like, IMDb lists him as DJ, and that's right. Actually what it stands for, is "Don't Join."
Gotcha.
But one of my favorite moments with him is they're on this, ship that he stole, and Finn and Rose are all up in arms because they are on, the ship of these people who created weapons for the Empire. And
Right, they think that arms dealing only goes one way.
Exactly. And this movie hits on this theme of, like, nobody is exclusively good or bad. Like,
yeah,
those are terms that we make up because both sides think they're the good guys, and both sides think the other people are the bad guys.
Exactly.
It's all a matter of perspective. So when he's flipping through, like, the little holograms, and you see like TIE Fighter, whatever, and then an X-Wing pops up, it's like, oh man.
Yeah, that was a great reveal moment, a great gotcha moment.
Yeah.
All Finn has ever known is evil. He didn't even have a name.
Mm-hmm.
All he's known, well, again, evil, but he's known the First Order. That's it. He's a First Order Stormtrooper. That's it.
Right. Yeah, and man, Finn is an interesting character. Where it baffles me a little bit just how much he knows. Like, they're trying to get onto the First Order ship in order to, like, disengage the relay that allows for them to continue to track the Resistance fleet. And, like, we know that Finn worked in sanitation under the First Order, and as a result, may have his own unique perspective on how things worked. But the fact that I think they even say in the movie, like, I used to mop the floor of the room that it's in. I know exactly where I'm going. It's like,
right.
They're giving this character way, way, way too much information.
Yeah, inside info.
Right, like, to what he would realistically have. Like, it only makes me think, other than the fact that you see his emotional breakdown in his first battle on Jakku, it's like, how could he pop? Like, he almost has to be like, I'm not suggesting this is not a theory, but, like, you would almost think he has to be a double agent who is much higher.
I could see it. I could honestly see it.
Because just how else does it make sense that even in The Force Awakens, he knows exactly where, in that movie, the core that they need to destroy is, in Starkiller Base. Starkiller Base is the size of a planet. Right,
and where the one specific... Also, I don't think he ever worked on Starkiller Base.
Right. Well, I think they may suggest that he had. I don't know to what extent the Stormtroopers would have involvement in every single First Order project that's going down.
Yeah, you would think that they probably have a pretty big sanitation team.
Yes.
Since they are just an unlimited resource.
This would be like me and my ability to tell you where a grocery store in South Africa is.
Exactly. Not even a grocery store on Mars.
Right. Yeah, it's like, so they annoyed me a little bit with like, kind of the knowledge that they give him, and I think the whole point of the entire mission that they take to the casino, it's a bad idea, and I think even as a viewer, you're supposed to be able to recognize it was a bad idea.
It was a horrible idea.
Like, it was never going to work. We're talking about 6 hours to go from one ship in the middle of nowhere space to another planet to hope that this code breaker just so happens to be at a casino one night. Be able to convince him to come with you back into the middle of space, where you're going to break into another ship, get to this...
A First Order ship full of stormtroopers.
Right, yeah. Successfully navigate your way to the place you shouldn't even know where it is to begin with. Turn off something where it would give you a 6-minute window before they even realized anything had happened for the others to jump to light speed, in which time you would still need to get back to that ship. And
you'd have to get back, which I don't honestly think that they had intentions of getting back on the other ship.
Sure. That's completely fair. Maybe it was just
I believe that it was led to believe, or it was meant to be a suicide mission.
Sure, like it was like a valiant effort. And I'm so glad.
Or they would simply escape to light speed in the ship they got there in. I don't know the answer to that, but there was no physical possible way they were getting back on board that First Order cruiser, or not, or the Rebellion cruiser in 6 minutes.
Right.
No possible way.
Not going to happen.
Not gonna happen.
But I'm so glad that you used the word suicide mission. So we get down onto Crate, which is again the salt planet, and there's the scene where we see I think they call it like some type of laser cannon battering ram.
Yeah, it said it was a battering ram cannon.
Yes, yeah. The scene where you have all of like the cruisers come out with like the little monopod ski and they're all camping up the red. When Finn makes the decision, this is again a moment in this movie where I thought they could have been more bold. Finn basically knows he can't shoot the battering ram, but he can run straight in. For me, I would have been, and it's not that I dislike the character of Finn, but I would have been perfectly 100% okay with him having made that sacrifice in order to save.
Oh, interesting that you went that way with it. I was 100% certain at that moment that Rose was going to swoop in and fly into it.
Really? Oh, you thought 100%. Rose... You thought 100%.
Rose... 100% thought Rose was going to do it.
Oh, man.
Because I didn't think there was any way they were going to let Finn go at that point.
Well, it would have been very surprising. It would have been like a holy crap.
But it would have been one of those Rogue One moments where, the Force is one with me. Where she could have just hopped in there and taken care of it.
Right.
And instead she just knocks him out of the way. I thought that was very interesting.
It was an interesting call. There was a lot going on there. And I guess you can look at it from two different perspectives. One would be if either of them sacrificed themselves, you probably could have destroyed the battering ram, but it still wouldn't have saved the day.
Right. It wouldn't have done all that much.
Right. So it's like, can you kill such key characters for the sole purpose of buying an extra 15 minutes of time for everybody else?
No.
Right. And so...
Well, and that was the whole issue they had with Poe, is that he continuously tried to do that.
Right. Yeah.
To put himself so far in the line as to buy himself 5 minutes.
Right. Yeah. Well, gosh, Poe had a pretty good story arc in this movie, though, where he starts as this, like, total, what do they say? Get your head out of your cockpit. I thought that was hysterical.
They call him Flyboy. He's just another pilot.
Right. And I think I was almost slightly offended on Poe's behalf a couple of times because I was like, okay, Poe is not your average pilot.
Right.
This
like
guy,
if they had treated Luke like that after he blew up the Death Star.
Right. And I actually love the way that they keep doing a really good job, and they did it in The Force Awakens too, of just showing you how much better of a pilot that Poe is than just everyone else.
Oh my god, that first scene when he turns the X-Wing around on like a dime and starts flying back the other direction toward the cannons.
Yes! Oh my god. I got chills. That was a moment that I described as like they were acting for the people in the back seats, where it was almost like, you see him take this like really big, like, rip of the joystick, whatever you got an X-Wing with.
Right.
And the whole thing just like rips around. It's like, it was nothing short of just badass.
Well, and you have to, at some point in these movies, act for the people in the back seats, because that's the way the original trilogy was.
Yes, extremely true.
It's to cover up for the fact they didn't have the technology, they didn't have all this stuff, as they were making it with cheesy wipe cuts across the side of the movie, and, the acting had to make up the slack.
Right. No, for sure. So, that felt very Star Wars to me. I thought that was super cool. And of course, Poe in The Force Awakens, he's got that like right initial moment where he's facing off with Kylo, and they have that like, who talks first? You talk first? I talk first?
And you immediately know he's not just some normal person. He's face to face with the terror of the galaxy
and mocking him.
Mocking him, yeah.
Right. But so he does it, and tell me how you felt about it in the beginning of this movie, where he gets on the call with General Hux, and
I was dying the whole time, where he's pretending not to hear him.
Yes. He's like, still holding. Are you guys there? Oh my gosh.
Oh, and Hux, I love Donald Gleason in this part. He, I thought, was, and I'm going to say guilty for lack of a better word, but guilty of the acting for the people in the back seats more so than anybody else. Yes. But I loved it.
Yeah.
Is that he was so over the top.
He's so, it's absurd.
Right. Whatever happened in between, Starkiller Base blowing up has apparently gone to his head, and he thinks he's some kind of, somebody above his station.
Oh yeah, sure. Well, and I guess like he is general, so like he's not just like a commander of like a small legion or whatever. Like I think he is in charge, but he just gets relentlessly beat on through the whole movie. I feel like they make him the butt end of like every single joke. Even down to the end of the movie where they're in Kylo Ren's ship and he wants to, go down to the ground to face off with Skywalker, and he just, forces him into the wall or whatever. They get him so bad. But no, you were so correct with the way that he acts. And again, in The Force Awakens, I always think about that like Hitler address that he's making.
Oh God, the speech, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh, like what is this guy doing?
But that's the thing is, like, I like him more so than I ever liked any of Vader's generals.
Sure.
Vader's generals never bothered to, mouth off to their, I guess, what rank did Vader have in that whole kind of...
That could be a video in and of itself, is like, what on earth was Vader's role in the situation?
Right. Well, and I have the same question about Kylo, because obviously they fill the same shoes.
Right. I think that they are both, like,
It's like Sith in chief, like...
Right, like...
I don't know.
Head of special ops would be, like, the thing that I would give him.
Because clearly he has, and Kylo Ren clearly shows that he has power over Hux, but, Vader showed that he has power over all of his underlings, I guess his generals and everything, and he only listened to Darth Sidious.
Right. And I think that's exactly what you see with Kylo and Snoke. It's like Kylo does not respond to any of these other guys. It is purely Snoke. That's all he follows.
Oh, and I was so glad that Kylo didn't just become a good guy after Snoke died.
Oh man, and what was really interesting, actually that scene in Snoke's chamber room, I can't believe we haven't talked about it yet. That was like one of my favorite scenes of the whole movie. When
I think the best acting Adam Driver's ever done in his life.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was really cool. Even the way that, the Force always seems to give the ability for people to almost see, like, not specifics about the future or past or feelings or anything, just the general feelings themselves, like the intention. So
right, it's just a raw emotion.
Right, so like he's reading Kylo Ren. He knows that he is like concrete in like his decision on what he's going to do.
I mean, he's literally narrating. You're moving the lightsaber in order to destroy the true enemy here.
Right. Exactly. And literally what he's doing is moving the lightsaber right there next to him, slices him right now. I was shocked when they killed Snoke like that. I was like, what? That's insane.
I was absolutely shocked, but it was so good.
Oh my gosh.
Such a good way to do it.
Such a great way to do it. And then, so the moment that follows, so you have like the Praetorian Guards, and it was cool to see them come into action because like the Emperor obviously had his Imperial Guards back in the original series, but you never really see him do anything other than stand in really fancy red coats.
Right. They sure as heck don't take on a couple Jedi.
Right. So it was cool to see that whole battle scene. I thought that was a really well choreographed scene, where they show you like Kylo Ren for one at his true power. Like, he's like Rey is struggling, like fighting like one guard, and
and he takes out the rest of them.
Yeah, he's like fighting 3 at one time. But they did a lot of like really cool ways to get them out of dicey situations, like when Rey drops the lightsaber out of her hand because she's like held in a weird spot, and then drops down and catches it and kills him, and then throws it across the room, and Kylo Ren's got like the staff up against his neck, and he like
and they got this amazing teamwork going on.
Yeah,
because they're in each other's head at that point. And I love these scenes because you get one of those almost like Ninja Turtle-like scenes where they've all got different weapons, like different variations of the same weapon. I love those scenes where it's like you see the different fighting styles go into each of them and how they have to combat with that. And it was such a cool, really well choreographed scene, really well shot scene. I loved it.
Yeah, I thought that was great. But like you were saying, you were really glad that like Kylo didn't kind of turn to the light side. I think what I found really interesting about that was, he's sort of suggesting to Rey this idea of like, we need to just let everything burn to the ground. Snoke is gone. The resistance is in, there are like embers at best left. It's almost like let everything die and then like let's step forward as like a new vision, as the new leadership.
They're not entirely wrong.
What's that?
They're almost not entirely wrong.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, in the movie, I'm sitting there, I'm like, I don't mind this plan.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't somebody on a high horse saying, like, light is good, dark is bad, blah, blah, blah. It's like, it seemed like the best understanding of how a blend of both characteristics is really what you needed. and maybe you've got Kylo who's 75% dark and 25% light, and Rey the opposite.
The opposite, yeah, the inverse, and they can rule together. And it was this very clear, like, run away with me, Rey, we'll start over kind of moment. And I'm glad she didn't take it. I think it's, it was too soon for that kind of thing to happen.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it would have been, the only way for that to happen would have been you would have needed the new protagonist for episode 9.
For sure.
That would
For sure. Well, and that's the thing is, like, Finn and the Resistance were never going to buy into it.
Right.
Regardless. But I mean, you can't have Rey and Kylo Ren versus Finn. Not going to end well.
There's
Finn.
no way to do that. That's taking, good characters against good characters, and
and you have to have a Jedi on each side, or it's, clearly a one-sided fight.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, they're never going to overcome that. So yeah, that was something that I could have jived with, even though it would have been very difficult for.
For a 9th movie to happen, for starters, and.
Yes. Yeah.
And I really don't know where we're going with the 9th movie, and I know that's kind of your domain there, is to spend the next 2 years figuring out where the 9th movie's going.
Oh my gosh, I know, and it right now it seems like it's just a complete and utter enigma. Like all I know is that obviously I think we'll fast forward not 20 something years. I think we would fast forward in time enough to where the Resistance would have to be
because you're not going to take them on with 7 people.
No. So it's going to have to be back in a place where they're able to stand a chance.
What I think Star Wars, especially the whole franchise, but these last 2 movies, has never given us enough of a reason, and this has always been something that's kind of stuck with me, is like, why don't we like the First Order? What exactly do they do?
Okay, so and I think they were trying to suggest some of this. I mean, for one, and I think this goes back to the Empire a little bit too, they lead through fear. So, like, when they had Starkiller Base, they effectively were attempting to control the galaxy by making everybody so afraid that if they didn't fall in line with them, that they would blow up their planet.
The Death Star was the same way.
And the Death Star was the same way. And I guess really Starkiller Base wasn't just your planet, it was like your entire solar system.
But I guess the prequels kind of ruined that for me, because you see, truthfully, how flawed the Republic was, the Galactic Senate.
Well, and that I would argue is like the major theme of this movie is that the dark is not, the First Order is not good, and really the Resistance isn't that good.
Well, and it was never that, like, they were never particularly good people in the rebellion in the first place.
Right.
They were literally terrorists,
right,
for lack of a better word. Like, they are going against the established government in an aggressive, violent manner.
Right. And I mean, even you see it in Rogue One with Cassian, who's kind of struggling with some of the demons that he's inflicted through a course of being with the rebellion at that time. Where he's like, I've done a lot of things. I mean, I've been a spy, I've been an assassin, I've had to make these decisions on behalf of the greater good. That's a slippery slope.
And that's the whole thing is who at the end is going to stand, completely victorious.
Well,
I have no idea. I don't know if it's going to end with the next one. I don't know if there's going to be another 3. I couldn't tell you.
So you have a Star Wars story, which is like what Rogue One is, which is what Solo is.
Yeah.
And then you have episodes, which is like what The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi are. So, I think...
So you think 9 will be the last episode?
I think 9 will be the last episode. And, I think 9 will be the last episode with...
the Skywalker...
I think there will be future episodes and trilogies that bring a spotlight to all new characters, all new problems. It could be the Old Republic, like you could be going back in time. So what we might be seeing is more to do with like young Yoda, early origins of...
Oh, I'm certain that will be the case. At least for some of them.
Yeah.
It'll tell the backstories behind the Republic. Because theoretically, if you're going to end the series, you're going to end it on a very firm note one way or the other. Either good is going to win or bad is going to win.
My shot in the dark expectation would be that either Kylo Ren will die turning to the dark side or to the light side, or we will see him turn to the light side. And I don't know what direction we'll see it go. Like, it could be very Darth Vader where he sacrifices himself in a way. It could be something to do with Force users absolving themselves to the Force just the same way that Luke did, where it's like the stronger any light side gets, the more the Force...
The dark side will compensate.
Exactly. So that's really the issue, is that like, and I think even like in Avengers, they deal with this exact same problem. It's like, if you have such a great power, you were gonna meet opposition of similar power.
Oh, I mean, that was Age of Ultron to a T.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think it's as fun and unique as the world or the universe of Star Wars is. The story at the end of the day is going to be, it has to be that simple.
Wouldn't it just be great though if just for once ever in history the bad guys just won?
It would be crazy. It would be crazy.
Great, not in like a it's what I want to happen way, but just in a kind of screw you to the movie industry kind of way.
Sure.
That would, because it would never happen in one of these big series. Like if Harry Potter had just died.
Right.
Like at the end of it, he was just dead.
Right.
Like, Voldemort lost, but Harry Potter was dead.
But Harry Potter was dead. Nope. Yep. That would have been interesting.
Oh man, but that's what I was thinking at the end of this movie. I was like, what are they going to do for the next one? What if the First Order just wins?
All I could think would be if they somehow got you to understand
the side of Kylo
Ren. Like it would have to come down to perspective, and not to branch off too much from Star Wars obviously here, but the Netflix series Daredevil, who have you watched it?
Yes, I have.
Okay. I can't even think of his name now. This is gonna be such a bad analogy. The villain though in the first season, the big white
Kingpin.
Yeah. You can relate. You can relate with how and why he sees the world the way he does. Like he doesn't seem like someone who just wants power and strength and to watch the world burn. He's someone that you're like, oh my gosh, like because of these reasons, this is the why he thinks this is the right way to go.
Oh yeah, and to some extent that's Marvel's expertise a lot of times, is making you sympathetic with the villain almost.
Yes. And whenever you can do that, that's when I think you've really nailed.
Yeah, when you've won something there.
Yeah, the story altogether.
No, I mean, so you guys will have a lot of things to unpack over the next 2 years until December 20th. So December 20th, 2019 or 20.
Gosh, yeah, it's gonna be a beat, and I know how much I've dissected. I've probably watched The Force Awakens 20 times in the past 2 years. So.
For sure. So I think it's interesting that the different kind of and obviously you do this for your job is why you watch the trailers over and over again and try to unpack everything about them. I avoid the trailers for these things like the plague.
Oh, do you? So you like to go?
I did not see a trailer for the Force or for The Last Jedi until about 2 weeks ago.
Oh my gosh.
The first time. I never saw a trailer for The Force Awakens, not once.
Okay, I can actually, the only trailer I saw, because when The Force Awakens came out, our channel was not in a place where this is what we dissected. And so the only trailer that I had seen was Finn in the middle of the desert taking off a stormtrooper helmet.
Yeah, so the three things I knew about, or I guess two things I knew, were that I knew about Finn, because I knew there was a black stormtrooper who couldn't really breathe very well.
Yes.
And I knew that there was someone named Kylo Ren.
Yep.
That was all I knew about The Force Awakens. I went into it completely blind, and it was the most satisfying thing.
You are not wrong at all.
To just have no idea.
Right. And I think, it's such a double-edged sword, because like Jay and I did a video where we went through and we made all of our predictions for The Last Jedi, because we had just analyzed it death. Like, what will happen with this character? What will happen with that character? Will we meet Rey's parents? Will we know where Snoke came from? I
was actually going to ask you about that. So how correct were you? Because I have not watched that video for that specific reason. I didn't want to hear anybody's opinion on it before I saw it.
Gosh, I think I was about 50%. There was some stuff that There's some stuff that we got like nail on the head. Like, for example, Phasma, Jay predicted that in some way, shape, or form, we would see basically her helmet get destroyed and potentially see part of Gwendolyn Christie's face. Both of us thought that Luke would survive the film and that Leia would not. That was big time because of Carrie Fisher herself. I predicted that we would see Yoda as a Force ghost, but not Obi-Wan.
Okay, you were right there.
Yeah, I got that one. Okay, here's a question for you. What did you think of the Porgs?
They were cool. It was a little comedic moment. It was one of those comedic relief things that you kind of needed, where Chewie was eating the porg and they made him feel guilty about it. Like, that was cute. It was adorable. They were like Ewoks, but kind of less invasive.
Yes, yeah. And that's the thing, is that, like, again, kind of going back to what we touched on at the beginning of the show, is sort of the idea that a lot of times people know that something is widely widely disliked, and there is at least a sect of the internet that hated Ewoks, that think that Return of the Jedi was ruined by them. So I think that there was a lot of discussion going into this movie about whether or not the Porgs were going to be the Ewoks. Both of us predicted that they would do good.
I think they handled that one very, very well. And they were just like this cute little thing that kind of happened. And, it was part of the whole, like, mid part of the movie where it was okay for there to be some funny stuff.
Sure.
The same with R2-D2's little cameo.
Yeah.
Where he guilts Luke into helping Rey by playing the video.
Really? I mean, R2-D2 sets the entire plot into motion. Like, Rey has not made any progress with Luke, and then R2 is just like, hey, remember that one time you saved the entire galaxy? What if we did that again?
Right, and he plays the little video, tell me Obi-Wan, you're our only hope, and he's like, okay, my turn, I guess.
Right. So here was another question that we had going into it that I got right was, are we going to see the other Knights of Ren? So, of course, Kylo Ren is the master of the Knights of Ren. I predicted no. There were just too many other people to cast for us to see who those characters could be, like who his right-hand men are.
Wait, so the Knights of Ren were his people?
Yeah, so the Knights of Ren did not exist, at least in canon, prior to Kylo.
So I thought the Knights of Ren were the whole group that Luke trained.
Well, so a few of his pupils were killed by Kylo Ren when he burned down the temple, and then the others followed him.
Okay, so that was the part I missed there. I thought that's where they got the name Kylo, where he got the name Kylo Ren, is that it was his, they were like his Cub Scout troop, essentially.
Yeah. No. So, we still don't know a whole lot about the Knights of Ren, who they are, what they're capable of, but we know that I believe that the entire faction was something that was created with that group of Force-sensitive pupils, basically, that Luke was training. So we'll still get more history on that. That's another one where, like, there could be a Star Wars story
for sure
in the future.
Or they'll be a part of Episode 9. Who knows? I mean, they've left that door open.
They have.
Now, what surprised me about that scene is I was under the impression that Kylo was a lot younger when that happened.
True.
And that, like, Luke had been on that island for a long time.
Right.
And it didn't give me that vibe in this movie because, I mean, it was still Adam Driver. He still looked the same.
And I think what they were trying to do with that was I think they were trying to make him look a little bit younger, like by kind of maybe making his face a little more glossy, a little less imperfect. So I think they were hoping to suggest that, maybe if Kylo Ren is in his 20s, early 20s now, that may have happened when he was mid-teens. But yeah, you're right. Like, it's not like Luke has been gone for years and years and years and years and years and years and years. It's
well, it wasn't even that I thought that. I was under the assumption more that it was like he was more of a child, like Anakin type age, like young Anakin.
Right. Well, and they do make that point all throughout Star Wars. They make it with Luke and they make it with Anakin. Yoda says it about Luke, he's too old to begin the training, and the Jedi Council says it about Anakin, he's too old to begin his training. And both times that they've said it, I'm like, well, how early do you start your training as a Jedi? Like,
well, because Anakin was, maybe, 10?
Yeah, like 9, 10 years old, could not have been older than that.
I guess, but then, like, the kid that he kills, the little kid that flinches when he, asks for, when Anakin pulls out his lightsaber, couldn't have been more than 5 years old.
Oh, yeah, no, that kid was like a wee little kid.
Right, so that's what I'm saying, is like, maybe I guess it's the same way with the Stormtroopers, like, you're indoctrinated in it for life, like, from the beginning.
Right, it's possible. But,
maybe not as like a baby, but like a first couple years.
Yeah,
who knows? Whatever the midichlorians say, man.
Oh gosh, don't even say that word.
No, that's a big no buzzword here.
Yeah.
Okay.
But on the note of midichlorians, we end the movie, the Last Jedi, with seeing this little kid kind of force pull the broom into his hand.
Oh, I know, that was so cool. It's we'll see where that goes. I can't imagine they did that for no reason.
No, I'm sure not. And my assumption is that they probably they put that iconic ring that Rose gives him so that they can potentially cast that kid as a character in a future movie or in Episode 9, and you would identify him by the ring. So that would be one way for them to be able to cast a new person to play that kid grown up.
But yeah, I think you're probably correct about, we may get an Episode 9 being 4 or 5 years down the line.
In terms of Star Wars history, yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, obviously, there's already a release date, so.
Right.
We will know in 2 years and like 2 days.
I can't even wait.
Yeah, I guess there's a leap year in there somewhere, so 2 years and 3 days.
There you go.
It's coming out.
Well, Ethan, I think that's probably all of the thoughts I've got rattling around in my head right now. Is there anything else you want to cover?
No, I think we pretty much hit it all on the head. Just gonna do a couple wrap up things real quick, and then I'll have you on your way. So what would you say? Give me 2 shining moments from this movie.
Oh, geez. Okay, so by far, the throne room for me when Rey and Kylo go back to back and they've both got lightsabers out, and it's this moment when, you know, they go to fight the Praetorian Guards. I loved it. Like, even if it didn't mean that they were ultimately on the same side, just to see, you know, like, the characters, the new characters, all of a sudden starting to, like, pioneer the situation a little bit. Like, they're not following Luke, they're not following Snoke. Like, they were
exactly
on their own in that moment.
Well, and you see Rey get free for the first time almost of all this stuff. And I don't know how we didn't talk about this earlier, but they break Anakin's lightsaber.
Oh my gosh, I know, and that is going to be... I think they even end the movies on a shot of her holding the broken lightsaber. I'm deadly curious to see if for one, the kyber crystal dictates the color of the lightsaber, what Rey's lightsaber is going to look, what the hilt will look like, what color it'll be. Even like
when she builds her own blade instead of the one that was used to kill the Jedi, the one that was used to kill Darth Vader too. But no, the one that was used to...
Green one was for Darth Vader.
To fight Darth Vader originally. Yeah, he lost that one.
Yeah.
With the hand. That was it. Yeah.
Oh, and yeah, very, very quickly on that note, one thing that we were wondering, I need to go back and watch the movie again so I can see what the hilt looks like, but when Luke confronts Kylo in like his little hut there at the Jedi Temple, we were wondering, is Kylo using Luke's original lightsaber there to defend himself? Because it is blue. And in The Force Awakens, there's a moment when I think Finn actually turns on the blue lightsaber in the woods, and Kylo says, "That lightsaber belongs to me."
Yeah, no, I definitely think that was probably the same one.
So that'll be
now as to how it ended up in Maz Kanata's basement, I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's a whole different thing. I thought it was interesting that Luke used a blue lightsaber at the end of this movie.
Well, that was, almost, that's even a moment he's using that same lightsaber that it should have been a tip off to Kylo, because Kylo was just there. He just destroyed that lightsaber.
Right. And that was something that like made, and I think that was just the purpose of it, was to make you kind of think that something's not entirely correct here.
Right. And I so freaking wondered if they were going to show us that green lightsaber again. And all I can assume is that it's just gone.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I don't know. He probably had it.
You think so?
I think he probably had it because he doesn't. Obviously, he didn't like. It wasn't a real lightsaber that was being fought with. It was the force projection one. He was sitting on a rock.
Right. Well, no, it's true. But like, why not bring the green one with him?
Well, because that's the thing is I don't know, but he didn't bring anything with him. Is what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, he's not actually there.
Right, he's not actually there. So it's like maybe he was hearkening back to a time before Vader. I don't know, something there. Something he had to bring up to do that.
Yeah,
but I think there's something to it. But I'm definitely curious to see where they go with Rey's new lightsaber.
Yeah, that'll be a keystone piece in a theory, I'm sure, at some point in the near future.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's going to be 2 solid years of speculation over that.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so one more shining moment.
My other shining moment had to be Holdo light speeding through Snoke's vessel.
Oh yeah,
that was
a moment of sacrifice.
It was a sweet moment of sacrifice. I loved her as a character. I thought it was a cool moment. And I loved the way that it was silent. I know that that's like a weird thing to maybe even appreciate or notice about it.
I did the same thing. I thought that was so cool.
It was just like, yes. So I personally love that. I know that there have been some people who have been up in arms about like, oh, now we're just going to see all these ships, light speeding through future Death Stars and Star Destroyers and blah, blah. I know that people are all up in arms.
I don't think it would have worked nearly as well with the Death Star.
I don't either. I think it would have been more like a gnat. I think people are underestimating how big the Death Star was.
Right, exactly. Okay, so I'm with that. I'm going to ask you a couple more hard questions here. One quick one.
Okay, go ahead.
Where does this fall in the ranking of all the Star Wars movies? And if you want to go ahead and just rank them all real quick, I'd be cool with that as well.
Okay, so
you can go bottom up if you need to.
Let me start by giving what my list would have been before The Last Jedi.
Okay.
And that would have gone 7, 5, 4, probably Rogue One, 6, and then 3, 1, 2.
Okay, I'm really glad you have 2 at the bottom.
Yes,
that's the one I'm really concerned about there, is that I'm glad you had 2 at the bottom. I saw a guy yesterday on Facebook whose list went, I think it was 2, Rogue One, 3, 1,
no.
6, 6, 5, 4, 7, 8.
Oh my, no. That's
2 being the best. The Clone Wars being the best.
With, like, R2's bizarre, like, rocket. No. Just absolutely not.
Oh, my God.
So, I think, for me, it's going to fall... I think I'm going to put it probably right in front of 4.
Okay, so that was not better than Rogue One. No, better than Rogue One.
Better than Rogue One.
Better than 4, not better than 5, 6, or 7. No, just not better than 5 or 7.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I confused myself.
No. So, and I'm still like, I feel like I'm gonna have to watch it a few more times. At the end of the day, I think I fall on the side of things that I liked this movie. I know that 50% of people don't like this movie. So right now you're probably either screaming at, your radio in your car, however you're listening to this, or you're like, yes.
Yeah, see, I'm with you. I love the new ones because they're everything the old ones were, plus just better writing, better acting, better effects, but still like the same type of effects. You still get the cheesy wipe cuts, you still get the silly blue font.
Yeah.
You get all the things that make Star Wars Star Wars. The music hasn't changed, but it's just a better version of... And this would harken back a lot to Empire, whereas as The Force Awakens harkened back a lot to A New Hope. And right. I don't think that's a problem.
No, and it's not. And in a lot of ways, too, this one goes back to Return of the Jedi. I mean, you've got almost word for word the scene of Palpatine talking to, Luke while there's a battle of his team being destroyed right outside the window. You've got Snoke talking to Rey while there's a battle happening right outside the window, and he commands, both Luke and Rey to, fulfill their destiny, word for word. So it does go back to Empire in ways, but it also goes back to, Return in ways, but I also feel like it was its own unique story.
For sure. And I couldn't be more happy with it, honestly. I don't understand the side of the people who are hating on it, and I think there's a lot of people who are upset about a lot of things, and that I think that rating is kind of a knee-jerk reaction right now. I think that will increase over time.
Yes, I'm inclined to agree with you.
For sure. I think that the longer it goes on, the more people see it, the more people who aren't, rabid, huge Star Wars fans who are worried about canon, the kind of people who are mad when they kicked out the novels from the canon.
Right.
When they stop kind of, inflating the rankings there, I think it will definitely even out a little bit.
Yes, yeah. And you know that everybody who saw it the first weekend are diehard Star Wars fans, so it's like...
Right, and there's a lot of people who are mad for a lot of reasons, and those reasons are completely valid. I understand them.
Yes,
but it's just I think they're being a little bit clouded.
Right, and I mean, and obviously, if you just listen to this whole show, you know that I have my fair share of criticisms of it. Like it's not like I thought it was like a flawless film, but I mean to put it in the same category of the prequels would be blasphemy to me.
Oh yeah, no, not for a second. I mean, like I said, I really loved the prequels when they came out. It wasn't, they don't age well though.
No, they...
God, especially the effects. I mean, I know you watched them last week. I watched one of them yesterday. Whew, man.
Not great.
Not great. Do not age well. Do not age well at all. Just a little sidebar. All right, so I got one last question for you, Ben. If you had to put this as a breakfast food.
Oh, man. Okay, so I thought about this a lot today.
What do you got for me?
Okay. So, what I went with is I think that this movie is a breakfast sampler served by a super, super, super fancy restaurant.
Okay.
It is extremely well executed in a lot of ways, but there are still lots and lots and lots of people out there who would prefer the version from the Waffle House.
And I'm completely with that. I understand that completely. And maybe you got something kind of weird on that plate, like a lobster tail.
Like a lobster tail, or maybe there was like some turkey chorizo, and it's like, hey, you know what? I need like greasy sausages.
Right, I respect what you're doing over there. This is awesome, but it's not necessarily breakfast, and it's definitely not the covered hash browns I wanted.
Yes, exactly. So I put a lot of thought in, because you told me that question was coming this morning.
That was like very well articulated. I'm amazed.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
I'm glad I didn't disappoint.
No, 100%. All right. I believe that's all I've got.
Wicked. Well, Ethan, this was an absolute blast. I super appreciate you having me on and just letting me nerd out.
thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you guys have got, a lot going on. Just real quick, what is next for SCB? What are we seeing from Super Carlin Brothers in 2018?
Oh my gosh, man. I feel like we have so many projects that we've talked about doing. Right now, Jay just launched his daily vlog, Jonathan Carlin Vlogs on YouTube, and I am currently looking at a Canon M5, which would be like my first own personal real significant camera purchase.
Okay.
And there would be some potential for me to be launching my own vlog,
your own channel.
My own channel. That would be. I won't go into too many details just yet, but that I would say is the thing that's consuming most of my thoughts at it.
Fair enough. So have you been on a podcast before?
On a podcast?
Yeah.
A small handful of them. Most of the time, It's always with Jay. So this would be the first one that I've ever done solo.
That you've hosted.
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, I think you talked a fair more amount than I did, which is what I wanted out of this, because there's a lot of people that ask for you to come on the show. I'll be honest with you. A lot of our listeners were saying hey, get Jay or Ben on here, and so I'm very grateful for you coming on here and offering your opinions on a movie that you've clearly done a lot of research on.
Oh man, yeah. Well, I tell you what, this and I hope I didn't talk too much, but this was a movie that I saw first thing on Thursday night, and of course those who are familiar with the situation at all, Jay just had his firstborn baby, and so him and his wife were at the theater with us, and it was as soon as the movie was over, they had to book it out the door. So we woke up the next morning, same thing, all things frantic. We get into the theater, we see it. 15 minutes left, Jay gets the call that Luke can come home from the NICU, and so he leaves, and once again, I didn't get to talk, to Jay about it in depth and really just dig it apart and have so much fun with it.
So was today the first time you guys got to talk about it properly?
Yeah, so today it was we were literally bursting at the seams. So for me, I feel physical relief at the end of this conversation, having been able to finally get all of my thoughts out of my head. So
there you go.
Hopefully I didn't overdo it.
No, now you've got 2 years to kind of compile your thoughts to the next one. Back to Pixar now.
There you go, back to Pixar.
Yeah. Fair enough. Well, I don't have anything else for you. Any last words?
No, I think that's all for me. Like I said, thanks so much for having me on, and of course, everybody be sure to congratulate my little brother, who him and his wife Emily put on just an absolutely beautiful wedding this past weekend. And so
it was amazing.
I'm glad he went on a honeymoon so I could be on his podcast.
For sure. And you're welcome back anytime. You just have to clear it with him first.
Yeah, sounds good. This was part of my best man speech, but I couldn't be more proud of Tyler for having a project that he's doing and sticking to and has its very own flavor in everything. So
it's so much fun to do this. But yeah, you guys will hear from Tyler on Monday. Monday's Christmas? Is Monday Christmas? Yeah, so we have an episode ready for Christmas Day, and then we'll be back as per normal on the 28th.
Wicked.
So everything's ready. We're preparing for a huge 2018 here at Bacon and Eggs as well. And, thank you so much again, Ben, for coming on. And that's all I've got.
Not a problem. See you guys next time.
So there it is, ladies and gentlemen, my interview with Ben Carlin on Bacon and Eggs. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to that. Ben's a great, dear friend of mine. Obviously, he's Tyler's brother, so we loved having him on here. And the man's a true expert on Star Wars here, so I was really glad that we could bring him in to talk about The Last Jedi. As always, you guys can find me on Instagram and Twitter at WowNow, but the O's are zeros. Tyler is at AmeriCarlin, and you can find Ben at SCB Ben. If you want to look for the show, we're on Facebook at Bacon and Eggs Podcast. You can also join our fan page, which is Bacon and Eggs Fans. That's a great Facebook group where we're getting a lot of our insider info for what episodes we're going to do these days. So go ahead and head on over there and join. It's a great time. You can also find us on Twitter at Baconandeggs23. We'd love to hear from you guys. In addition, if you want to help us keep the lights on here, Bacon and Eggs, we've got a Patreon at it's patreon.com/baconandeggs. And we would love for any help counts. It'd be super great if you guys could just head on over there and drop us a couple bucks if you got it. If not, I understand it's the holidays, so no big deal. But we would love to have any kind of donations we can to help us out here. It really means the world to us. And you guys will hear from us again on Christmas Day. Like I said, we've got an episode coming out for you then, so go ahead and look forward to that. And other than that, I hope you guys have a great rest of your year, and we will talk with you on the 28th, right before the new year ends. But, just figured I'd say that now. Until next time, guys, arrivederci.